What's going on, guys? So my property has a weed problem. Now, when it comes to dealing with weeds, a lot of people just go the easy route and they use Roundup. I hate Roundup. The reason I hate Roundup is because it has a certain chemical or element or whatever it is in there by the name of glyphosate. Now, glyphosate is a known carcinogen, and it's something that I don't want to have around the property, especially because I'm on well water and the dog runs around the yard and I lay down in the lawn sometimes. That's a whole other topic of conversation, try to eat organic food, but whatever, getting off topic here. But anyway, what are your options when it comes to dealing with weeds naturally? Well, you have three options the way I see it. One option is you could pull weeds by hand, and that's pretty effective, but over time weeds generally come back. You could throw some mulch on top, that generally helps. The second option, which I very commonly use, is I use a weed whacker and I just burn the weeds down, and it gives it maybe a week or two and then they grow back. So I do that sometimes. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be testing out a natural weed killer solution that I found online. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera throughout the property. I've flagged probably, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 spots, little flags in the ground of where I want to test out this natural weed killer on. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to talk about the recipe. We're going to make the recipe, and then I'm going to take you to each one of these individual flags. I'm going to spray the weeds, and then I'm going to wait a week, take the camera back out to all those flagged locations, and we'll see how well this solution has performed. So what is this solution comprised of? Well, you're going to need white vinegar, according to the internet recipe. So you're going to need 1 gallon. I bought a couple gallons because I'm planning use this, more than what's here, but recipe is 1 gallon of white vinegar, 1 cup of salt. Now, I've heard some people recommend Epsom salt, but by the time I started reading that, I got kosher salt, so we'll see how well this works. And then also you're going to need a little bit of dish detergent, so let's mix this together. And also, of course, you're going to need some type of pump sprayer. If all you have is like a little Windex sprayer, I'm sure that'll be fine, but if you plan to do this frequently, the more proper thing to have is like a professional sprayer like this. So let's mix this stuff up in the container and then we'll start spraying. Alright, so let's give this recipe a try. So first things first, 1 gallon of white vinegar. Next thing, 1 cup of salt. Tablespoon of dish detergent, or what is this?
Dish soap.
Dish soap. Alright, so as you can see, here's one of the flags that I was talking about. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start spraying these weeds next to these flags. As you can see, the first flag here is this tricky crack in the driveway, so I'm going to give this a good spray. Like so. Flag number 2 on the edge of the patio, so I got to be careful not to get the grass here because I don't want to kill the grass. Alright, flag number 3 here. I don't know what types of weeds these are, but these weeds are very invasive. They have like this underground root system, and one thing I've read about this all-natural weed killer, one of the problems with it is it doesn't really get down to the roots. Like, it kills the top foliage, so I'm really curious to see how well this stuff's going to perform here. So, if it does in fact kill the top foliage, there's probably a good chance that I'm going to have to apply this stuff maybe once or twice more to really kill these weeds, roots and all. Weed number 4. Alright, so spot number 5 here is this whole hillside, and this is another one of those invasive weeds. I don't know what it's called, I'm not a gardener, but definitely, whatever this is, it has pretty extensive root system. So I'm going to spray this whole hillside here, and we'll see what kind of results we get. One of the final spots we'll be testing here is this plot of gravel in between the deck and the woods. And you know what's happened just over the years, the mulch has kind of floated off the hillside there, and it's kind of gotten tangled up in the gravel, so the gravel isn't really draining as properly as it should, and you know, with the dirt being in there, it's allowed the weeds to grow. So just a whole mismatch of weeds in here. See how well this stuff works. Funny, as I was out here filming this video, I found this bumblebee here on his last legs. According to one of the online studies I read, 96% of bumblebees that were exposed to glyphosate, which is one of the chemicals in Roundup, were killed. So Roundup is killing our population's bumblebees. Alright, so it's been 4 days since I applied that natural homemade weed killer concoction to the flagged out areas around my property. I felt like that was enough time to give you guys a pretty good understanding of how well this product actually worked or didn't work. So let's start going over all the areas. So here we are at flag number 1. This was the crack in the driveway, and everything's dead. It did a great job at killing off all this grass that was popping up through the driveway here. And again, here we are at flag number 2. All the weeds that were popping up through this paver walkway, just about everything's dead. Did a pretty good job here. Here we are at flag number 3, and this is one of the areas that I feel like would really benefit from a second application. Everything so far, I've only done one application of this stuff, and as you can see, some of it's kind of like partially dead, but I think a second application in direct sunlight would probably kill off the rest of this. Flag number 4, which I'm pretty sure these guys are dandelions, look like it pretty much killed the thing. There's a little bit of green left on those leaves, but I think because the rest of the leaves are so far gone, I don't think it's going to come back, but this one may need a second light application to finish off the job. Alright, here we are back on the hillside. Now, earlier on in this video, I kind of knew that I was going to have a problem with this grove of invasive weeds on the hillside. I don't know what type of weeds these are, but these are kind of nasty to deal with. So, yeah, I applied the first coat of this natural weed killer to the whole patch of weeds here. And what happened, on the upper part of the hillside that gets more sunlight, that side, after about 3 days, was, I want to say 85%, maybe even 90% killed off. So, what my experience has been is that when you apply this natural weed killer to weeds in direct sunlight, it's much more effective than applying this to weeds that are in the shade. And also another tip that I have for you, when you plan to apply this natural weed killer, take a look at the weather. Try to make sure that it's going to be dry out for that day and perhaps the next couple days, because you want to make sure that this stuff is able to sit on the plant and really soak into the plant. Like, if you apply this stuff and it's going to rain in like an hour or two and it's going to be shady out, it's really not going to be very effective at all. So dry days in direct sunlight is when this product becomes much more effective. So again, after 3 days, upper hillside, 80, 85, 90% killed off. After the 3 days, this lower part was probably only about 40% killed off. So yesterday I applied the second soak, well, I guess technically it is a soak, but second coat of this natural weed killer, and now it's starting to make a bigger dent. I kind of have a feeling that I may need to apply this stuff one more time just to hit the hard spots here, but let's be honest, this was a really tough patch of weeds. It's fighting me pretty hard here, but another coat, maybe a fourth coat, and I think I'm going to have everything here pretty well killed off. And here we are at the final 2 flags, which is kind of like this gravel area between the hillside and my back deck. And I gotta say, after one coat, I only applied one coat to the weeds back here. It was really effective. You could just see all the brown on camera right now, and it really killed off probably about 90% of everything. The weeds that were most resistant to this mixture were these dandelions. There's one there, one there. There's a few more further down in this patch of weeds here, but dandelions are going to need a second coat definitely, but for most general weeds in here, I'd say this stuff did an excellent job, especially for one coat. And again, this area of the house is in a direct sunlight area, so again, this stuff is going to be much more effective when you apply this in direct sunlight and it's dry out. All right, so let's recap. How effective was this stuff at killing off weeds? Well, it depends on many things. It depends on what type of weeds you're trying to kill. Some weeds are a lot easier to kill and some weeds are a lot tougher to kill. As we found out, like the dandelions and the clovers, those were much more challenging to kill off than some of the other weeds that we came across. Fortunately, I don't really know the names of the other weeds out there. But yeah, and it also depends on when you plan to apply this stuff. In my experience, this stuff was much more effective when applied on a dry, sunny day, and it also really helps if you can check the weather and plan ahead and make sure that the next 2 or 3 days are also dry, because that allows this stuff to sit on the plant longer. Like if you apply this stuff on a cloudy, rainy day, you might as well not even bother, because it's going to sit on the plant and then the rain's going to come down, it's going to wash it right off the plant. It's not going to be nearly as effective as it is on a dry, sunny day. And also, try and apply this stuff when the weeds that you are trying to spray are in direct sunlight. It's going to be a lot more effective. Cost-wise, it's pretty darn cheap to make. I estimate that it costs about $4.50 per gallon to make. This costs $2. This costs about $2. This costs $3 or $4, but we only used a cup out of here. So about $4.50 to make per gallon. All the weeds you saw in the video here, it took me about 2 gallons of this stuff to coat all those weeds, and I also I also coated all the weeds going down my driveway, and all the weeds on my driveway, because it was in direct sunlight, killed off all the weeds in my driveway upon first application. So yeah, $9 for the first coat of weeds around the property, and then I did a second coat on that hillside there, and I used another gallon there, so I'm in this for $13 and plus pump spray or whatever that costs, so it's pretty cheap. Some weeds you are going to have to apply 2 coats. That's unfortunately the way it is, but in my opinion, it's such a better way to go than using like a commercial grade weed killer like Roundup. If you care about yourself, if you care about your family, if you care about the environment and the bees, this is the way to go. Stay away from that Roundup, stay away from that glyphosate. That's nasty chemical known to cause cancer, and who knows what other chemicals you're putting in the ground, especially if you have well water. I have well. I know that may kind of get filtered out through the layers of the earth, but why even bother, you know? Just, I don't want that stuff getting on my feet, my dog's feet, maybe my kid's feet one day. Plan to stay away from that. With this stuff, you just got to be a little persistent on certain weeds and shady areas, but over time, if you're persistent, this stuff will absolutely do the job. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you have any other recommendations on any other natural homemade weed killers that you have used, please leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know how that worked out for you. If you guys have any other things that you want me to test, please also drop a comment in the comment section below. Always looking for future video ideas. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.